Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. If there's one thing in the gaming industry that appears to be a constant, it is the never-ending ability for games publishers to prove time and time again how they are very much out to serve their own interests at the expense of the consumer. Recently, Bethesda, a titanic publishing entity with a gargantuan amount of nostalgia behind its name, revealed in a posting that served as a carefully worded and thinly veiled slap in the face to critics and consumers alike that they would be refusing to release review code for future titles until 24 hours prior to a game's official release, citing that they want everyone to have the same experience, consumers and critics alike, and also citing Doom's critical acclaim and success as an example for this horrendously anti-consumer action being a good thing. Now, I discussed in a previous video how this decision was definitively a self-serving action on Bethesda's part, and how this could most definitely not be trusted. Given the buggy state of so many games released by them in the past, that buggy games at launch have very much become part of the culture of a Bethesda title. However, those bugs are traditionally related to odd graphical glitching that sometimes results in hilarious behavior by NPCs, along with hollow floors, warping, and a host of other minor glitches and engine errors. And so it was, to a certain extent, to be expected of the recent release of Dishonored 2. However, the types of errors that people are having are of a nature that people find this a very bitter pill to swallow this time around. Dishonored 2 is having sometimes horrendous frame rate issues, the likes of which I last saw on Batman Arkham Knight for the PC. Even people with higher-end 4th and 5th gen i7s with GTX 1080s are reporting frame rate issues with the game, and the player reviews are definitely beginning to take their toll on Steam. Now sitting at mixed with nearly 4,000 reviews posted in total, offering that to be a rough balance between the two, positive and negative, Bethesda's hopes for Dishonored 2 may well be slightly dashed due to the negative response gamers are having. And of course to this I have to say, Bethesda definitely shot themselves in the foot. Stating that their game releases are trustworthy and citing Doom, a critically acclaimed game, as their sole claim to solidarity in that statement. It was doomed to fail from the very beginning, one might say. And yes, I know it was a horrible pun, but to be honest, Bethesda doesn't really deserve any further brain power being invested in me for that. They claimed they could be trusted, stating that you don't need to bother with game reviewers, that you don't need to wait. You don't need to be skeptical, that you don't need to make decisions as an informed consumer. Indeed, that you don't need to do anything else but place your trust and your money in their delicate, caring, angelic hands that can do no wrong. Except, as so many reviewers, both big and small, had warned, that was a lie. Bethesda proved this in the very first game to be released since making that statement, proving yet again that publishers cannot be trusted. They cannot be relied upon, and they cannot be treated with anything except healthy cynicism. And what, you may ask, was Bethesda's response to these very prevalent and widespread issues? You should turn your settings down. Now, even though many had reported the issues persisting even on the lowest settings while running the game on enthusiast level hardware, and by enthusiast level I mean 5th or 6th gen i5s and i7s sporting GTX 970s, 980s, 980 Ti's, and even some 1080s, the new Monster gaming cards, whose power and performance is astonishing considering their 9th gen counterparts. All of those have been experiencing issues. Now, a patch is of course being worked on and is expected to be rolled out this week. However, many will consider this damage done. Of course, many will also give Bethesda a pass yet again. However, it is very much my feeling that Bethesda went one step too far by denying an opportunity for timely reviews to come out, and in the doing have already lost whatever faith and goodwill remained towards them or their games. Of course, if Bethesda were to have allowed proper review codes, then people would have been properly forewarned about these issues, which would have caused depressed sales and consumer backlash before the game even came out, depressing sales even further. And this exact thing is what they plan to avoid by simply not allowing review copies. As you can see, in the case of Dishonored 2 at least, their plan worked. But at what cost? How many hundreds or thousands of people are now disenfranchised with Bethesda's brand? How much more damage will be done the next time a game is released in this state with their continuation of refusing to allow review codes? And even further, Do they even care? You see, game reviewers are an important part of the industry. We offer a service both to the consumer, but also to the game developers and publishers themselves. And it is such a vital service to the gaming industry that I decided to throw my hat in the ring a year ago. Game reviewers can sing the praises of a good game, further spreading the word of the game and promoting improved sales and industry street cred. This also allows consumers to make an informed decision on which titles they choose to consume and increase customer confidence in the product they are purchasing. Conversely, horrendous releases like Dishonored 2 could be caught by reviewers if they were given the ability to do so, and that general prior knowledge could have protected many consumers from feeling like they had wasted their money, and also, believe it or not, allow the publishers to save a little face, allowing them to come across as the good guy with early patches and words of warning from the publisher or the developers at the time of release. This would greatly lessen the negative backlash from releases such as these, if reviewers were allowed to do their jobs. But Bethesda either doesn't understand the reality of this truth, or simply don't care. Unfortunately, it's impossible for us to tell which it is these days. However, given their recent stance and statements regarding Dishonored 2 and reviewers in general, I strongly suspect it is the latter, and those are affected mostly by this travesty is the consumer. Now, I would urge everyone to please wait. Wait for reviewers to do their jobs. Wait to see whether you should buy now or hold off for a better experience, or even whether to spend your money elsewhere. This is quite literally what we are here for. In spite of what Bethesda and publishers like them would want, we are still here. We will continue to do our jobs to the best of our ability. Even if we are forced to suffer delays, the same as you, as well will have to suffer the delays along with us. All of this lack of information is exactly what Bethesda wants. It is what they expect of their consumers. It is what they qualitatively stated you could trust them with. And they have violated that trust the very first time out of the gate. And in the doing, they've shown us how much that faith is worth to them. Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.
Hi there, boys and girls. Thanks for checking my video out. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe even that subscribe button. Trust me, it works really good. Don't forget to share with your friends, and if you're interested in following me on Twitter and Facebook, the links for that are in the description down below. I also have a Patreon if you're interested in helping to support the growth of my channel, and the link for that is down below as well. And once again, thanks for watching and supporting my channel, guys. I really appreciate it.